Maya wiped the sweat from her brow as she balanced the clay pot on her head, making her way down the familiar dirt path toward Willow Creek. At 23, she had walked this route thousands of times, her bare feet knowing every stone and root along the way. The morning sun cast golden rays through the canopy of trees, and the sound of rushing water grew louder with each step. Her village, Dharmapur, was nestled in a remote valley, far from the chaos of cities and modern life. Here, traditions remained unchanged for generations, and Maya's life followed the same rhythms as her mother's and grandmother's before her. She lived simply with her aging parents in a modest mud house, tending to their small vegetable garden and helping with household chores. Education had been a luxury her family couldn't afford beyond primary school, but Maya possessed a sharp mind and an observant nature that served her well. As she reached the riverbank, Maya noticed something unusual in the water. The creek, normally calm and shallow during the season, seemed disturbed. She set down her pot and shielded her eyes from the glare of sunlight on the water. That's when she saw him, a man, struggling desperately in the current near the deeper section where the old bridge pilings created dangerous eddies. Without hesitation, Maya's instincts took over. She grabbed the long bamboo pole her father used for fishing, which was propped against a nearby tree. Racing along the bank to get ahead of the drowning man, she planted her feet firmly in the mud and extended the pole toward him. "Grab it," she shouted in her native dialect, then repeated in broken Hindi. "Hold the stick." The man's head went under once, twice, and Maya's heart pounded. She waded into the shallower edge, stretching the pole as far as she could reach. Finally, his hand grasped the bamboo, and with all her strength, she pulled him towards safety, her feet sliding in the slippery riverbed as she fought against the current's pull. The man collapsed on the muddy bank, coughing violently and gasping for air. Maya knelt beside him, her simple cotton sari soaked and clinging to her legs. She had never seen anyone dressed like this before. Even drenched and covered in river mud, his clothes looked expensive, made from fabric that seemed too fine for ordinary wear. His watch, still strapped to his wrist, gleamed even under the coating of silt. "Are you all right?" Maya asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. The stranger looked up at her with striking dark eyes, still trying to catch his breath. He appeared to be in his early 30s, with features that suggested he came from far beyond her village. You saved my life," he managed to say between coughs, speaking in polished Hindi that marked him as educated and worldly. Maya helped him sit up, supporting his back. "Can you stand? We need to get you away from the water. Do you need a doctor?" The man shook his head slowly, taking inventory of his body. "I don't think anything is broken. I was trying to cross the old bridge, and the wood gave way." He looked back at the river with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "I can't swim. If you hadn't been here..." His voice trailed off as the reality of how close he had come to death settled over him. Maya noticed his hands were soft, unmarked by manual labor, so different from the calloused hands of the men in her village. "Come," she said simply, offering her arm. "My home is not far. You need dry clothes and hot tea." The stranger allowed her to help him to his feet, wobbling slightly. As they began walking, he introduced himself as Arjun Malhotra. The name meant nothing to Maya, but she offered her own in return. "I'm Maya, from Dharmapur village, just over that hill." Arjun studied her face as they walked, noticing her simple beauty, her direct gaze, and the complete absence of recognition in her eyes when he said his name. It was refreshing and, oddly, humbling. For once, someone had helped him without knowing who he was or what he was worth. Maya's parents, Ravi and Lakshmi, were shocked when their daughter appeared at their doorstep with a bedraggled stranger. In their small village, outsiders were rare, and this man clearly came from a different world entirely. But hospitality was sacred in their culture, and they welcomed Arjun without hesitation. Lakshmi quickly heated water for tea while Ravi offered the guest his own spare kurta and dhoti, though they were worn and patched compared to what Arjun was accustomed to. "Thank you for your kindness," Arjun said, bowing respectfully to Maya's parents as he accepted the simple clothes. Your daughter saved my life today. I am deeply in her debt. Ravi waved his hand dismissively. Any decent person would do the same. We are just glad you are safe. But tell us, what brings a city man to our remote village? As Arjun changed in the small adjoining room, he considered how to answer. He had come to this region secretly, traveling incognito to inspect land for a potential resort development project. His company, Malhotra Enterprises, was one of India's largest conglomerates, with interests spanning technology, real estate, hospitality, and manufacturing. But here, he was simply Arjun, a man who had nearly drowned. When he emerged wearing the borrowed clothes, Maya couldn't help but smile slightly. The kurta was too short in the arms, and the dhoti looked awkward on him, but he wore them with good grace. They sat on woven mats on the floor, and Lakshmi served them tea in mismatched cups along with simple biscuits. I'm a businessman, Arjun explained carefully, sipping the sweet tea. I was exploring the area for work. I thought I could cross the old bridge to reach the other side of the valley, but clearly I was foolish. Maya listened quietly, noting how he chose his words carefully, as if hiding something. That bridge has been dangerous for years, Ravi said, shaking his head. We've been asking the government to repair it or build a new one, but they say our village is too small, too unimportant. We have to walk 3 kilometers upstream to cross safely. The simple statement revealed volumes about the village's struggles, and Arjun made mental notes. As they talked, children began gathering at the open doorway, curious about the stranger. Their clothes were clean but threadbare, and several were barefoot. Yet their eyes sparkled with intelligence and curiosity. Maya noticed Arjun watching them thoughtfully, and something in his expression shifted. Perhaps he was seeing her world clearly for the first time, understanding that privilege was not universal. Arjun's phone and wallet had been lost to the river, swept away in the current. He had no way to contact his assistant or security team, who would surely be panicking by now, searching for him. But strangely, he found himself not minding the disconnection. You can stay here until you're stronger, Maya offered. Then we can help you get to the nearest town with the phone. Arjun accepted gratefully, and over the next day, he experienced village life in a way he never had before. He watched Maya work in the garden, her hands moving skillfully as she harvested vegetables and pulled weeds. She explained which plants were medicinal, which were for cooking, and how they managed their small plot to maximize yield. Her knowledge was practical and deep, learned through lived experience rather than books. He accompanied Ravi to the village well, where men gathered to draw water and discuss community matters. They spoke of crops and weather, of marriages and births, of small victories and ongoing struggles. The simplicity of their concerns stood in stark contrast to the boardroom discussions of quarterly profits and market shares that filled Arjun's usual days. That evening, Maya took him to see the village school, a single room with a leaking roof and barely a dozen books. I studied here until I was 12, she told him, running her hand along the worn wooden benches. Then my parents needed me at home, but I still read whenever I can. The teacher, Mr. Sharma, lends me books. She pointed to a shelf with perhaps 20 volumes, most falling apart. Arjun felt something twist in his chest. He had attended the finest private schools, had an MBA from Harvard, had access to unlimited resources, yet this young woman who had saved his life had been denied basic educational opportunities through no fault of her own. Later, as they walked back through the village in the fading light, children ran alongside them, laughing and playing with homemade toys, rag balls and sticks. Maya smiled at them with such genuine warmth that Arjun felt moved. You love this place, he observed. Maya nodded. It's my home. Yes, life is hard, and we don't have much. But we have each other. The city people who pass through sometimes they pity us, but we're not unhappy. She paused, looking at the sunset, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Though I do wonder sometimes what else is out there. What I might have become with different opportunities. Her honesty struck him deeply. On the second day, a car finally appeared on the rough road leading to Dharmapur, a sleek black SUV that looked impossibly out of place among the mud houses and dirt paths. Arjun's security team had finally tracked his phone's last location and had been searching the area. Maya watched as men in suits jumped out, addressing the man she knew as simply Arjun with formal respect that bordered on reverence. "Mr. Malhotra, sir, we've been searching everywhere," the head of security said urgently. "Your father has been—" He stopped abruptly, noticing Maya and her family standing nearby. Arjun raised his hand to silence him. "I'm fine, Rajesh. Thanks to this young woman." He turned to Maya, seeing the dawning realization in her eyes. "Maya, I need to tell you something. My full name is Arjun Malhotra. My family owns Malhotra Enterprises." Recognition flickered across Ravi's face. Even in their remote village, the Malhotra name was known. They were one of India's wealthiest families, their business empire worth billions of rupees. Maya felt suddenly very conscious of her simple sari, her bare feet, the humble surroundings. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked quietly. Arjun stepped closer, his expression earnest. "At first, I was too shocked from the accident. But then it was refreshing. You helped me because I needed help, not because of who I am or what I have. When was the last time I could say that?" He glanced at his waiting team, then back at Maya. "I don't want to leave things like this. You saved my life, Maya. That means something to me. More than just a debt to be repaid." Maya's mother had gone very quiet, overwhelmed by the presence of such important people at their modest home. Ravi stood straighter, pride and uncertainty warring in his expression. "Sir, we want nothing," Ravi said firmly. "We helped because it was right." Arjun nodded respectfully. "I understand and I honor that. But I saw your village, the bridge, the school, the well that needs repair. Let me help. Not as payment, but because I have the means to make a difference and I want to." He pulled out a business card that his assistant handed him and offered it to Maya. "Think about it. Talk with your family and village elders. If you decide you want assistance, contact me. No strings attached." 3 weeks passed. Arjun returned to his life in Mumbai, but he couldn't stop thinking about Dharmapur, about the village's needs, about Maya's intelligence and kindness. He found himself distracted during meetings, wondering what she was doing, whether she had called. When his phone finally rang with an unfamiliar number, his heart leaped. "Mr. Malhotra? This is Maya. I'm calling from the post office in the next town." Her voice sounded nervous. "I want to thank you again for your offer. The village elders had a meeting. We would be grateful for help with the bridge and the school." Arjun smiled, relief flooding through him. "Of course. I'll send a team next week to assess what's needed and begin the work. But Maya, I'd like to come myself, to see it through personally." There was a pause. "You don't need to do that. You must be very busy." "I want to," he insisted. And he did. He wanted to see her again, though he barely understood why this young village woman had captured his attention so completely. Over the following months, Arjun made frequent trips to Dharmapur, overseeing the construction of a new bridge, the renovation of the school, and the digging of new wells. But more than that, he came to see Maya. He brought her books, which she devoured with passionate curiosity. They would sit under the banyan tree, and she would ask him about the wider world while he asked her about village traditions, medicinal plants, and her dreams. "If you could do anything," he asked one evening, "what would it be?" Maya thought carefully. "I'd like to be a teacher. To help children here get the education I never finished. To show them that coming from a small village doesn't mean they're small." Arjun was struck by her answer. Not wealth, not escape, but service to her community. It shamed him slightly, thinking of his own ambitions for profit and power. Gradually, his feelings deepened from gratitude to something more profound. Maya was unlike anyone in his usual social circle. She was genuine, wise in ways that had nothing to do with formal education, and possessed a quiet strength that drew him like gravity. One day, as they walked through the newly planted gardens around the renovated school, Arjun stopped and turned to face her. "Maya, I know our worlds are very different.
I know this might seem sudden.
But I've never met anyone like you. Would you consider marrying me?" Maya's eyes widened in shock. Maya's mind reeled from Arjun's proposal. Marriage to a billionaire seemed like something from the movies that occasionally played on the small television at the village tea shop, not something that happened to girls like her. Arjun, I don't understand, she stammered. Why would you want to marry me? You could have anyone. Someone educated, sophisticated, from your world. Arjun reached for her hand gently. Because you're real, Maya. Because when I'm with you, I'm not a Malhotra, not a CEO, just a man. You see me, not my wealth. And I see you, your intelligence, your kindness, your strength. Yes, our backgrounds are different, but that doesn't mean we can't build something meaningful together. Maya pulled her hand back, walking a few paces away to think. Your family will never accept me. I'm a village girl with a 7th grade education. I don't know how to behave in high society. I don't even speak English properly. My family will love you as I do, Arjun insisted, though uncertainty flickered in his eyes. And anything you want to learn, you can. But Maya, I'm not asking you to become someone else. I'm asking you to be yourself with me. That evening, Maya sat with her parents, sharing Arjun's proposal. Her mother wept, torn between joy at the honor and fear of losing her daughter to a world they couldn't comprehend. Ravi paced their small room, troubled. Beta, he seems like a good man, and he's been generous to our village. But marriage is not just between two people, it's between families, between ways of life. Can you truly be happy in his world? Will he truly be accepted in ours? Maya had no answers, only the confusion in her heart. She cared for Arjun deeply. He had become a true friend over these months, someone who listened to her thoughts and respected her opinions. But love and compatibility were not the same thing, and the gap between their worlds seemed impossibly vast. Over the next week, Maya prayed, meditated by the river where she had saved him, and sought counsel from the village elder, Mrs. Devi, who had seen many seasons pass. Child, Mrs. Devi said wisely, life never offers perfect choices. But ask yourself this. Does he make you want to grow? Do you make him want to be better? If yes, then perhaps the gap between your worlds is not as wide as it seems. Perhaps you can build a bridge, just as he built one for our village. Maya agreed to visit Mumbai to meet Arjun's family before making her final decision. The journey itself was overwhelming. Her first time on an airplane, her first sight of the sprawling city that seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions, buildings touching the sky where her village had only trees. Arjun had sensitively arranged for her to have time to adjust, staying in a guest room in his family's mansion that was larger than her entire house in Dharmapur. His sister, Priya, was the first to meet her. Unlike the cold reception Maya had feared, Priya embraced her warmly. Any woman who pulls my brother out of a river and makes him question his whole life is my respect, she said with a grin. Come, let me show you around and help you prepare for dinner with the family. Priya became an unexpected ally, helping Maya choose an outfit from the overwhelming array of designer clothes Arjun had insisted on providing, and coaching her on basic etiquette without making her feel inadequate. Just be yourself, Priya advised. My parents respect authenticity above all else. The dinner was tense at first. Arjun's father, Vikram Malhotra, was a stern businessman who had built the family empire through shrewd decisions and calculated risks. His mother, Kavita, was elegant and refined, a philanthropist who moved in India's highest social circles. They questioned Maya politely but probingly about her background, education, and interests. Maya answered honestly, refusing to pretend to be something she wasn't. I won't lie to you, she said when Mr. Malhotra asked about her qualifications. I have very little formal education. I can't speak English fluently. I know nothing about running companies or attending galas. But I know about hard work, about community, about seeing what needs to be done and doing it. I know about loyalty and honesty. If that's not enough, I understand. Her directness seemed to surprise them. Arjun watched anxiously, ready to defend Maya, but found it unnecessary. His father leaned back, studying this young woman who had captured his son's heart. Tell me, Maya, what do you think of Arjun? She met his gaze steadily. I think he's a good man who sometimes forgets that wealth is a tool, not a purpose. I think he has a kind heart but has been sheltered from understanding how most people live. I think he could do great things if he stays connected to that goodness." A smile tugged at Vikram's lips. "And you think you can keep him connected?" "I think we could keep each other grounded," Maya replied, "if we choose to walk this path together." After long discussions with both families and much soul-searching, Maya and Arjun decided to marry. But Maya insisted on one condition. The wedding would take place in Dharmapur, not in some five-star hotel in Mumbai. "I want to start our life together in the place where our story began," she explained. "I want your family and friends to see my world, understand where I come from. If I'm going to join your world, they need to meet me in mine first." Arjun agreed, moved by her reasoning. The wedding became a beautiful fusion of two worlds. The Malhotra family arrived in Dharmapur with their society friends, who stared wide-eyed at the simple village that had been transformed with colorful decorations and flowers. The villagers, initially intimidated by the wealthy guests, soon found common ground in the universal joy of a wedding celebration. Priya danced with village children, teaching them Bollywood moves while they taught her traditional folk dances. Vikram Malhotra sat with Ravi under the banyan tree, and the two fathers found they had more in common than expected. Both loved their children fiercely and wanted them to be happy. The ceremony itself blended traditions. Maya wore a beautiful red and gold lehenga that Arjun's mother had insisted on gifting her, but she kept her hands decorated with the same simple henna patterns her village used, applied by the women who had known her since birth. Arjun wore traditional wedding attire but walked barefoot to the mandip as a sign of respect for Maya's customs. As they exchanged garlands and circled the sacred fire 7 times, Maya felt the weight of the moment. She was not just marrying a man, she was choosing to bridge two vastly different worlds. The village priest and a city pundit jointly conducted the ceremony, their different styles of chanting creating a unique harmony. When Arjun placed the Mangal Sutra around Maya's neck and applied sindoor to her parting, tears streamed down her face. "I promise," Arjun whispered, "to never let you lose who you are, to honor where you come from, to build our life together, not in my world or yours, but in a world we create together." Maya smiled through her tears. "And I promise to stand beside you, to challenge you, to grow with you, to bring my strength to your world while learning from it." After the ceremony, the feast was a magnificent blend. 5-star catering service arranged by Arjun alongside traditional village dishes cooked by Lakshmi and the village women. Rich and poor, urban and rural, all sat together on the ground, eating off banana leaves and sharing in the joy of union. The first year of marriage tested both Maya and Arjun in ways they hadn't anticipated. Maya struggled with life in Mumbai, the pace, the pollution, the loneliness of being in a mansion with servants instead of in a small house with family always nearby. The social events Arjun had to attend made her anxious. She made mistakes with English, felt judged by some of Arjun's social circle, and often felt lost in conversations about things she had never experienced. But she refused to give up. She enrolled in college to complete her education, hired an English tutor, and slowly began finding her footing. More importantly, she began channeling her experiences into action. She proposed to Arjun that Malhotra Enterprises start a rural development foundation, using her insights to create programs that actually helped villages rather than impose solutions from above. Arjun, for his part, had his own adjustments. Maya challenged his assumptions constantly, asking difficult questions about his business practices, about profit versus people, about the environmental and social costs of his company's growth. She pushed him to visit the communities affected by his developments, to see beyond quarterly reports to the human impact of his decisions. Their relationship became a crucible for both their transformations. Arguments were frequent, often about the disconnect between values and practices. But they learned to listen to each other, to find compromise, to use their different perspectives as strengths rather than weaknesses. Maya's grounded wisdom balanced Arjun's ambition, while his resources amplified her desire to serve. Together, they launched initiatives that transformed dozens of villages, building schools, providing healthcare, creating sustainable economic opportunities, always with input from the communities themselves. Maya became the face of these projects, her background giving her credibility that no amount of Malhotra money could buy. 5 years after their wedding, Maya stood on a stage at a national conference on rural development, now fluent in English, holding a degree in social work, addressing a room full of policymakers and NGO leaders. "I was once a village girl who knew only one small corner of the world," she told them. "I'm still that girl, but now I've seen other corners too." The question isn't whether rural and urban, traditional and modern, rich and poor can coexist. The question is whether we're brave enough to build the bridges between them. Arjun watched from the audience, his heart swelling with pride and love. Maya had not lost herself in his world. She had brought her world into his and made both richer for it. As for that drowning stranger she had pulled from the river with a long bamboo stick, he had found something more valuable than all his billions. A partner who saw him truly, challenged him constantly, and loved him completely. Their story became legend in Dharmapur, told to children as proof that kindness ripples outward in ways we cannot predict, and that sometimes saving a life saves two.